have two different things today. One is I want to start with our survey questions, and then see if we can actually, let me see if I can bring them up. So, all right, so these are one, two. So this one's first one. Okay, so I'm starting with the first one, and it's going to be on our third screen. So the idea here is for us to kind of just have enough answers on these surveys. So I did this for our 2 p.m. Event, and then as I was doing it, I liked the interaction that we were getting from different groups. And also a lot of things that you and I, we try to provide more education, more information, more knowledge, and knowing who we deal with, not just patients, but overall the society itself. This is giving us a good background on the issues. We are not running this based on just one specific group. We are not running this for it's not my followers, so it's being promoted in the United States, and it's not promoted for people with morbid obesity only. It's promoted for everyone, so I cannot separate. The only filter I have is 18 years as this floor, and the rest, there's no other restrictions other than for those who are in the United States. So the first question that we had is about how people actually see the obesity, and I'm going to actually read this for you, and then I don't know how much you can kind of see from the third screen. Question number one, which weight loss method do you find most effective for morbid obesity? So, and you and I, we are not surprised with this answer because 76% of the people, they think that diet and exercise is the most effective way. So, and then bariatric surgery was the second one with 18%, and there's medication, which is 6%. So we talk about these issues because we know that many people don't know that bariatric surgery is the most effective tool to fight morbid obesity. And this survey shows us that most people, they still don't know this is the case. Now, of course, we have limitations, so we have to kind of make some adjustments when we are processing these results. But it's interesting how people think that they can lose weight with diet and exercise. And that's maybe true for you and I and maybe Sean. But those who are chronically ill with morbid obesity, that's not the case. And that's why I think it's important for us to have these sessions. And I know we'll have a different sessions to discuss these results, but I just want to kind of put these out there. And then if you want to add anything before I go to the second question.
Yeah, it really confirms what we already know, and that there is a bias against bariatric surgery, right? I mean, if you had placed the same question about cancer treatment, whether surgery was more effective to remove a colon cancer as opposed to a medication, what would the answer be, right? The vast majority of people would say, go to the surgeon, right? Get it out. So there is really a bias toward obesity because not only there is obviously a misunderstanding or not enough knowledge about bariatric surgery, but there is a bias towards what obesity is. Whether it's a disease or not, people still think it's a self-inflicted condition that people should be able to address, just like, the length of their hair or the length of their nails, you know what I'm saying? So that is the bottom line, really. And it reinforces that, and it also makes it hugely important for us to continue doing these sessions, really, to try to divulge the knowledge of bariatric surgery as a very effective, very often life-saving and extremely important medical treatment.
The second was, how often do you discuss the importance of obesity awareness in your community? So regularly is 22%, occasionally 17%, and rarely is 61%. So that's again, like it's telling us, kind of confirming what we already know. It's kind of interesting that people don't talk about it because for the same reasons, maybe they don't think this is an important issue. It's a disease. Uh, all those things are all together. So it's interesting that people don't talk about it.
Yes, yes. I mean that's there is some irony in that, Kamal, isn't there? Because of all the diseases that one could talk about, obesity is probably the most declared one, the most public, right? You walk around, if you have obesity, people will know because they see, right? It's not so for diabetes, it's not so for cancer. And yet
Right.
people will talk about diabetes and cancer, but the issue of obesity is hush hush. Again, the stigma of obesity, right? And that is what we have to really push through and win over, Kamal, to get people to really understand that this is an extremely serious health issue that should be talked about and addressed appropriately.
Question number 3 is, what's the biggest challenge you have faced in your weight loss journey? Staying motivated is 40%. That's number 1. Dealing with cravings, 38%. That's number 2. Finding time to exercise is about 18%. And social stigma, which is surprising, it's only 4%. So for the staying motivated, 40%, that's number 1. The reason we do Bariatric Friday is for those who are having that problem, who are having difficulties to stay motivated. So hopefully, we are supporting those. But anything you would like to add to this?
Yes, it's interesting, right? That people find this, struggling with cravings and staying motivated as really big obstacles, but also those really are the heart of the matter, right? Because you are fighting a biology that drives you to eat despite the fact that you have enough energy, enough food inside you when you're struggling with obesity, right? The normal, it's like, if we talk about a car that has a full tank of gas, right? The indicator tells you it's full because it has full gas, right? It never says it's empty. And yet we're acting as if we have all the gas inside us, and yet the indicator says empty all the time. So that is the biology that we're fighting. And that's precisely why people continue to gain weight despite their best efforts.
Right. The question number 4 in this series is related to where they get their information, and people getting their information, 40% from their healthcare professionals, and 40% is from online researchers, and about 20% they get from friends and families. So this is important because we want, of course, the online research is good, online search is good, but healthcare professionals should be the main source of where we are getting our information. But also, this is kind of helping us to better understand why we are doing what we do today, is because people are doing a lot of online researches. So then they can actually get reliable, proper, accurate information from us. Anything you wanted to say on this one, Dr. Ram?
No, I mean, that's the point is well taken. Obviously, healthcare information is information, and people will usually gravitate towards getting information of healthcare from whatever they get information from other things as well, in general, right? So with the preponderance of online availability of information, it is expected that people will go there as well. But the advantage is easy availability of that information. The caveat is reliability of that information. That is valid for any type of information, of course, right? But it is even more important for healthcare-related information because that has impact on the people's health if they take action based on the information they get. So the safest way for people to get information would be to get that from an expert, somebody that has been certified by society to have enough knowledge about that topic, right? And it is no accident that people have to go through a lot of years of schooling before they become healthcare professionals, because you need that kind of rigorous knowledge before you can really guide people about their health. So, and we have enough healthcare professionals for people to be able to get to. Having said that, it doesn't hurt, for people to obviously try to broaden their spectrum as well. But taking action about your own health, you want to be guided by a health professional. Okay.
So our next question, number 5, is what expectations or hopes for the outcome of your bariatric surgery? There are 202 answers, and of course, the significant weight loss is number 1 with 37.6. Improved health condition is 24% 3. Better quality of life is 23% 3, and better look is about 15%. So my understanding from this is that, of course, people do want to lose weight, but then they really want to improve overall their well-being. Anything you would like to add? And we're going to discuss these in a different session with all surveys together.
Yeah, I mean, these are very kind of interrelated answers to some extent. It would be unusual to have somebody just focused on the weight loss per se without really understanding the implications to their health. And it would be unrealistic to expect somebody to be doing this just for health reasons, really not looking at the advantages of, the actual weight loss as well, right? But focus is focus as well, right? So the main thing that people see on the outside is the weight itself, and that's a burden, right? That's a burden, and add to that the stigma that society has placed on people who are overweight. So getting rid of that outward look with the excess weight becomes a very important goal for people, right? But as we are, advancing in our knowledge of obesity, and as the health implications of obesity are penetrating the society more and more, it's very gratifying to see many people now talking about obesity from a health point of view as well, right? And I see that in practice when I see patients come out that may have been struggling with obesity for 20, 25, 30 years, not necessarily accepting it, but trying to deal with it in the traditional ways, right? But then they come at one point to realize that bariatric surgery is the most effective solution. And that point usually comes really with the realization that obesity is affecting their health as well, whether it's diabetes, whether it's high blood pressure, or sleep apnea. And then they say, look, yeah, definitely, then I'm going to go through the surgery, because it's not just about me looking thinner, it's also about me being healthier and living longer.
And our next question, number 6, is what challenges they have faced currently pre-bariatric surgery phase. So 30% says emotional struggles, 28% says lifestyle changes, 22% says insurance-related issues, which is surprising actually, and then 20% is dietary restrictions. So now this was kind of, again, with the insurance-related, I wasn't expecting that number to be high. There's about 180 votes on this total, and then 22% would be about 36. We know that almost any major insurance, including Medicaid and all the Medicare, Medicaid managed cares, they are actually covering this. There may be deductibles and co-insurances, of course, but 97%, these are well-covered services. But as we can see, lifestyle changes and the emotional struggles, that part is not surprising, right, Dr. Gam?
Yeah, no, that's not surprising at all. I mean, but also the insurance issue, come out, the way I look at it is that, yes, we do have a much better coverage situation now than we did 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And it was really a battle to get insurance companies to understand the really advantages and importance of bariatric surgery. But also, insurance companies don't make it necessarily easy and transparent for people to really proceed with bariatric surgery in many ways, right? So this perception that this is something that insurance companies are going to deny, you see it prevalent among people. And that's the first thing very often people will ask is, will my insurance cover this, right? They don't ask that about going to the emergency room to get, a broken foot fixed or something like that, right? But they ask about bariatric surgery again because there is this perception that this is not a healthcare issue, right? And that perception, unfortunately, persists throughout society, but also insurance companies are not doing really the best they can to make sure people are aware of the availability of this, right? And still, also, there are extreme situations, Kamal, and you and I look at these, from time to time in our case conferences where there are certain insurers that outright exclude bariatric surgery coverage. There's, this nice gentleman, right, that we've been working with, that he works in the healthcare arena himself, right? And yet his insurance company actually excludes bariatric surgery coverage. It is mind-boggling.
No, that's